What keyword ranking strategies are you currently using? The entire goal for ranking is how many orders can we possibly get through that one specific search term. Now, I know there's a lot of talk in our space around like, oh, target like long tail search variations of the keyword and all that stuff. That does help. It's not going to have the most impact. So the most impact for any ranking keyword is going to be getting orders specifically through that search, getting a lot of orders. So we don't just want one, we want a lot. And also making sure that our click-through rate and our conversion rate are really high on those key terms. So I'll be honest with you, the biggest impact on ranking you can have is really by picking the right keywords. So if your question was, how do I figure out what keywords do I rank on? I would say like look for things that you can afford to spend a lot, i.e. you're not losing money, meaning ACoS isn't like so crazy high that you can't afford it. You want to look for things that you have really good conversion rates. Bonus points if you have good click-through rates here, but I would go for conversion rates over click-through rates. And then you just want to like put money towards that. Now, if you say, how do I rank on this specific keyword, then that question is a little bit different. And I'm just going to tell you like push volume. Now, what I recognize is that me saying, hey, push volume through a one specific search might mean that that's not super profitable. So that's where I'm saying like the real trick is going to lie in the actual targets that you select to rank on. Other things, some pro tips and some pro hacks are more advanced but can be helpful here, is if you have a specific search where it's like crazy expensive and you just don't really have the budget for it. Again, that goes back to keyword selection. Make sure you're selecting keywords where you can afford to spend that budget on it. But if we're on a specific keyword, you want to make sure that you're showing high enough in search that you can really get those good conversions and get those eyeballs on the product. But maybe you can't afford a ton of clicks because there's a lot of clicks and they're really expensive. And use the budget as sort of a lever to cap or meter how much money you are spending for that ranking play. Now, how effective that is going to be how many orders your market is making, and that's relative. So when I talk about trying to get a large amount of orders, it's relative to the other competition that is on that particular search page. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Ask Junglr. This is the time and place for you to get answers to your most pressing Amazon advertising questions. And I am really excited to be back. Apologies, I ended up having to cancel last month because I am not a robot and I got sick and it hit me like a freaking truck, unfortunately. So I'm happy to be back. The format of this show is if you have an Amazon advertising question, you can use whatever chat you are listening in on to dump your comment into the chat box. I will pull that up and answer your question. That intro video we've been doing this for a hot minute now. It's been, I don't know how long, but at least 6 months or more, pretty much every single Thursday, rain or shine, health permitting, we're coming to you to get answers to your questions. Why do we talk a lot about ads? Because we have been managing ads for brands for at least 6 or 7 years now. So been along the block, seen a heck of a ton of scenarios, everything from supplements to baby to clothing brands. Clothing brands have their own issue. I don't want to say issues, but like inventory management, constantly having to adjust ads for that, as well as like large amounts of variations in the supplement category. Cost per clicks are absolutely insane. I'm talking like $5 to $8 sometimes even more. And then also couple that with like a lifetime value of customers being a little bit higher means that your competitors are paying more, hence the higher cost per click. And so it's a really heavy space to break into. Although that being said, there's a lot of benefits. Oftentimes you can make really good money in the supplements category, but you can also lose a lot of money as well if you don't know what you're doing when it comes to advertising. So seen it all, done it all. And my goal of this is to weekly be able to take those learnings and share them with you all. So with that, it looks like we do have at least one question in the chat. So I'm going to be here for about an hour. So again, if you got any Amazon ad questions, make sure you drop them in the chat. Also, I would do it sooner rather than later, because basically what typically happens is that no one asks questions, and then as we go through this, questions start flooding in, and I have an hour to get to all of your questions, and I get to as many as I can. But sometimes, unfortunately, there are some of you who are left without your questions answered, not because I'm not trying to get to them, because we run out of time. So if you do have a question, a scenario, a query, if I say anything that triggers an additional question, if I say something and you have a follow-up to your question, make sure you drop that in the chat. Get it in sooner rather than later. But Fasol is here. He's saying good morning. Good morning to you as well. Hello. It is a beautiful and mostly sunny day here in Florida. That's where I am located, which is awesome. We've had a crap ton of thunderstorms though, so hopefully the weather holds. Either way, I'm inside, so I'm gonna roll with it. This is a great question. Should we be optimizing campaigns if you're running any A/B testing experiments in parallel, following the ASINs that are being advertised in the PPC campaigns? This is a really fantastic question, and I would say yes. You still want to be optimizing the ads. So what Fazal is talking about here is, it sounds like you're talking about A/B experiments when it comes to listings, which, by the way, if you're putting new listings in the, like, you really want to do a lot of A/B testing, that is a fantastic resource from Amazon. Honestly, I really hope that they give us true A/B testing when it comes to ad creatives. I think that would be amazing. Right now, we don't really have a good way to truly A/B split test sponsored brand creatives or even sponsored display creatives. So Amazon, if anyone there is listening, which sometimes they do, I would absolutely love that feature. I think it would be fantastic. That being said, I would still optimize the ads, because what's going to happen if you completely hold off? Now, I will say, if it is working, like if something's working, maybe you could go ahead and just do, like, avoid optimizations on things that are working. My worry about saying, like, hey, yeah, don't optimize, would be if, conversion rates go down. If something changes in your ads, you definitely want to make sure that you are proactive with those things. So I wouldn't just say, oh, hands up, because the thing with A/B testing is it actually can run for a while. And I would be very hesitant to say, like, never just like let something fly and completely hands off the wheel. So you're perfectly fine to continue your regular ad optimizations, even if you're doing A/B testing. But that is a fantastic question, actually. All right, another question. I have two sponsored product campaigns, a main one and a backup one, low bid. Both have identical products and targets. I want the backup campaign to run only when the main campaign runs out of money. How do I set that up? By simply running both campaigns. And the other thing you can do is, so I will say, if the first campaign is running and you pretty much have budget throughout the day, then it will most likely be the one to generate most of the impressions. Now, that being said, if you run those both in tandem, you might find that you get some impressions on your lower bid campaign. And so in that case, all you do is you run the two in parallel, and then oftentimes you're using more budget management controls on the first campaign, and then you just make sure you have a low bid, high budget. The other thing that I would say is, make sure, I don't know what you're using for your bid optimizations, but you definitely want to make sure that you have some settings in there, because oftentimes with just, again, it depends on what the algorithm is, but typical algorithms will often say if something's running out, or like it's not generating impressions, then it might increase the bid. And so you just want to be aware aware, like the intention of that second campaign is a low bid campaign. So you do want to make sure you maintain that. And then also just make sure nothing's triggering to like increase bids, because the expectation would be that the impressions will be much lower on the second campaign for two reasons. One, because that other campaign is more aggressive and most likely that's the one that's going to generate majority of impressions. And then also the fact that they're running in tandem. So again, I would just be, that's like another thing to be aware of. But overall, I would say if the two are set up in tandem, you should be totally good. All right, what is the best strategy for ranking on your main keyword? Ooh, I like that one. It is a great question, and I'm going to share a resource with you that's going to give a much, much, much more in-depth answer than I'm going to here. So if you go to our website, which is junglr.com, if you go to resources, and then you click go or drop down the resources product launch strategy, I actually give away our entire product launch strategy, like A to Z, all of it. This is the exact strategy that we use to hit like 140K in 30 days and rank for top 5 core keywords in one of our brands. Like, this is a solid bulletproof tested strategy that we have been adjusting. So let me pull up that document, which again, if you want access to the full document, just go there to our website. You can get a copy of it absolutely for free. But if I go to this product launch document, all right, let me pull this open here. Don't know, I'd say some products are moved. Basically, your goal is to pick keywords that you know that your product has a good, what would you say, like is relevant to your product and has good search volume. So you want to look at the intersection between, so here's an example. Let me see if I can zoom. Can I zoom in? Haha, I can zoom in. Cool. All right, let's pop this close so you can see it. So here's some like lower relevancy. So assuming this is a product, you can see things like blanket, baby blanket, swaddles for newborn. These are not specific to the product. You want to find things with high relevancy. So in this case, muslin swaddle blankets. How do you figure out relevancy? The best way to do that is going to be go to Amazon, type that keyword into search and see what comes up. And ideally, you're using search in an incognito window because you don't want your past searches to affect that search page. So if you do that, and you want to pick about 10 keywords to go after. All right, let's see. Let's pop open this again. So you're going to pick about 10 keywords. You're going to launch them in a single keyword exact match campaign. Now, I will preface this. This is when you're going after like more specific, like intentional ranking strategies and you're being aggressive. There's other launch strategies out there that we will use on occasion if we want to have like a little bit more of a profit focused launch, or we're okay with a little bit more of a slow burn. This is where like your very classic rank strategy, get more aggressive, optimize from there. And so when we're picking ranking keywords, we like to choose at least 10 keywords, test all 10 of those. Now, all 10 of those are not going to work. That is the thing that I will say. The thing that you need to go after for ranking purposes is you need to make sure that you have high sales velocity and you convert. Sometimes with new products, because the reviews are lower, maybe you didn't get the relevancy as right as you thought. There's some differences in the shoppers who are searching one keyword versus another. Your product may fit one place better than the other place. And so it's not uncommon to, like, again, you want to just make sure that you can get sales velocity. So we like to hedge our bets in about 10 keywords. You can choose a little bit more, a little bit less. But in our experience, that's really good. And then in terms of the campaign setup, let's see, we go over campaign naming here. But you want to use single keyword, exact match sponsored product campaigns. If you want to add something more, you can do sponsored brands video is another one that we've seen do really well, but typically it's exact match sponsored product campaigns. You want to do really aggressive bids. because you want to generate impressions. And then basically you need to get impressions. Those impressions leads to clicks, and then you got to make sure that those clicks are translating to orders. And providing you've done your keyword research right, you're being aggressive enough on your bids to generate the impressions you need, and you are converting, meaning those clicks are converting into orders, you simply drive that home, and that will help you rank. Honestly, the key to ranking is more about making sure the product and the keywords align and picking the right targets that you actually have a shot at. If you've already been running your ads for a little while and you're looking at ranking keywords for an existing product where you have data, Search Query Performance Report is a fantastic way to identify keywords that you rank or you have good conversion rates on, which can be helpful. I have observed that Amazon is not giving us top of place, even though we have increased the bids and increased the placement percentages. That's not abnormal. Oftentimes, the bids needed to show top of search are higher than you think. So in that case, I would continue to increase the bids. And in our experience, if you're really looking to push top of search placements, a higher bid will typically get you a more premium placement than if you do a lower bid and a higher top of search. So I would test a really high bid and then maybe a moderate top of search placement percentage to try and just push that. And when I say moderate, I'm talking like 20 to 30% tests. I would try that. And again, we will often be very unpleasantly surprised at the cost of top of search placements. So most likely that's what you're seeing in your account, unless it's a new product. And then in some cases, what we found is that the product just isn't really set up, isn't really fully understood by the algorithm, or the algorithm does not have as much certainty that that product is worthy of a top of search placement. That can happen sometimes in beginning stages. Remanaging experience. My scenario, I'm A/B testing titles, images. So how would I know if the up or downside due to the experiments or PPC changes? I mean, so it's a fantastic question, but the answer to your question is there's no way to know for certain, unfortunately. And so all you can do is simply manage based on the data that you have. So an example is like we have some clients who use a repricing software, right? Sometimes repricing software, they're testing things constantly, right? And they're testing increases in price, and then just making sure that that's not leading to issues with, say, order velocity. Well, okay, so if the price increases, we technically have more room, to advertise because there's a higher order value, and so you have more margins to play with, so you could technically increase. But what happens when, even if you have more margins to play with, the conversion rate dips, and so that conversion rate dip is offset by whatever increased margins you have, like there's an issue, right? In that scenario, a cost goes up. And so you can still manage advertising and have it be dynamically impacted by all the other things that you're doing, be it pricing percentages, it being listing changes, whatever the case may be. All of those things, like ads touch freaking everything. Ads touch inventory, ads touch listings, ads touch reviews, because all of those things impact conversion rates. And ads, in a lot of ways, are like hyper impacted by conversion rates. And so so imagine the scenario, right? You do the A/B testing and conversion rate goes down. Not great, could happen. So do I just not touch my advertising, even though my A cost is skyrocketing because of the decrease in conversion rate? And then just see like, well, I think it's a listing thing, so I'm just going to leave it alone and I'm not going to change it? Or do you adjust the ads based on the ad performance? I would highly recommend adjusting ads based on the advertising performance. So like, I've talked to some people who are like using repricing softwares and they're like, "Oh, I should like, we should know that we're testing this pricing and then like we need to readjust the ads for this because this is what the new pricing is." And like you don't have to do that. You don't have to overthink it because all of those changes will be reflected in the advertising and vice versa. So if those A/B tests are like helping increase conversion rate, your A cost is going to go down so you can get more aggressive. So all of those changes will show up in your ads data. So as long as you're optimizing and you have a really good system for adjusting rapidly based on trends, and you also have a good system that does not overcorrect on your important keywords, i.e. your ranking keywords, that is highly important. So where you could run into issues or where you might run into issues is if like say the conversion rates go down and then all of a sudden because you're doing those optimizations that again are reflecting real-time feedback from whatever your other tests are running and it significantly decreases all of your ranking keywords and then all of a sudden you lost ranking and you lost velocity because conversion rates went down and you adjusted ads, like that's where you get in the hole. I'm not worried about that for myself because we have systems that are set up to not overcorrect on our most important things. So we'll be fine. Now, if you have a system that is just, by the way, you never want a system that is going to have one blanket ACoS target, one blanket target for every single campaign in your account. And that's what's going to screw you up. So if everything is like rapidly adjusting based on one singular target, there's no differentiation in your optimization systems for something that is going after market share and then like your low bid or like your discovery campaigns or whatever. Like if you don't have varied targets based on the campaign intent, then yeah, you could end up with a really big issue. But to be honest, you can end up with a really big issue regardless if you are doing A/B testing or not. So I'd say as long as you have a very incremental approach to your optimizations, you can just be fine with adjusting things. All right. Is it too late to set up sponsor display targeting after Prime? Would you mind talking me through it? Sponsor display use cases setup have always been confusing to me. Ooh, that is a great question. I am going to search on our, and I'll type it in chat. I do have a video that I posted. Now, this is on setting up the ASIN targeting inside of sponsored display ads. So I will say, like, this is for ASIN targeting, not retargeting. So my first answer to your question is yes, you can totally set them up right now because they have a look back window. So you'll still have the look back from Prime Day. That's not a problem. I'm going to drop this one in the chat. It's called How to Run Sponsored Display Ads on Amazon. Step by step. I literally go through Ad Console and like, hey, go here, click this. That will be really good for like the basics because I talk through like the bidding strategies, how to set up budgets, maybe targeting, how to set up, like starting bids and like that kind of stuff. So you can take most of that information and just swap it out for the retargeting ads. The other thing that I would highly recommend is setting up you now should have access to AMC audiences inside of Ad Console. Now, these are pre-built audiences from Amazon, but honestly, the pre-built audiences are great. I would set up an auto campaign and add a AMC audiences for shoppers who added your product to the cart but didn't purchase, because there will be an increase in those shoppers due to Prime Day. So I would do that, and then I would put like a 30 to 40% placement percentage increase on that. So I would set up a separate auto campaign for this. We would label it like AMC, and then I would use that pre-built audience in addition to the running sponsored display retargeting. The other thing that I will say, and I'd have to find the link where you can get this, but I did post a a way to get this. I don't know if you have access to our 360 ads audit. This is literally our audit tool, which, by the way, if anyone wants to know how to audit, I know, I swear I have it on the YouTube. I probably have it on our let me see, where is it? Okay, yep, I have it as well. It's this video wasting ad spend, Amazon PPC audit tool. So I will share that one in the comments as well. And I would highly recommend checking out our YouTube channel, and there's a link in the description where you can download this tool. And the reason why I am recommending you download this tool is if you go into the sponsor display analysis tables, if there was data in here, there's no data in here because this is the blank template you get. Again, the video walks through how to fill out this template, but you can actually test it. The one thing that I have found when it comes to lookbacks is most people just go with the default and they don't change it, so you're not dynamically testing things. So my recommendation would be to set up a sponsored display campaign, put in the product that you want to retarget the shoppers for, and then do one sponsored display campaign for purchases look back and do another one for views look back. So same product, again, one for purchases, one for views look back. And then I would test, because you can have different look back windows. So you can do 7, 14, 30, 60, 90, 180, and 365 days. Now for some products, going all the way up to 80 or 365 days look back is maybe a lot, but I think it's worth testing. Again, I would test it lower bids. But then what you can do is, after you've run that for a little bit, you can actually use the 360 audit tool, or because you have the campaign set up, you can actually go and like click into that campaign and you can see the performance of each look back windows. Because this is the biggest miss that I see most people do. I think the defaults on both of these is like 30 day. So most times what I do is I audit the account and they're like, yeah, purchases look back didn't work for me. To be honest, in sponsor display, the retargeting ads are kind of a hit or miss, but I think I've only ever audited one brand in the last, I don't know, 3 years that's been really testing the different view lookbacks. Most times, again, they set up the 30-day default and they're like, it's good, right? So if like 14-day look back windows don't work for you, try 30-day, try 60-day, try 90-day. Again, this tool will help you audit which look back periods are working best for your brand. Now, this is on the entire brand. Or if you're sending up one campaign for purchases look back and then you're looking at all the different look back windows, then you can just go into the campaign and you can check that out. So hopefully that was helpful. I wish I could just like pull up an account and walk through it, but I can't right now due to confidentiality. But I would test those. Do you have any recommended for liability insurance? I don't believe I do, but if you want to reach out to me, I could reach out to my network as well. And I can see how much estimated PPC should we consider when considering profit analysis. No, it depends on the product. What number of dollars do you think should be a minimum for the US market? Let me see. I have another sheet for you. I do a lot of screen shares. So hopefully that's helpful. Now, I do have this, what I call like the growth balance equation. I don't remember if I have a video on this. There's a video like how to use this tool here. I think it's a Loom video. But basically what you're looking to do is you need to balance like ad sale percentage, which is the ratio of ads to organic. So in the beginning, it's going to be 100%. Like 100% of your sales are going to come from advertising. Now, what you want to do is make sure that your advertising dollars are generating better market share, i.e. better organic ranking, and then that will shift so you end up with organic sales. These days, typically speaking, you are going to see about a 50-50 split, meaning 50% of your sales coming from advertising, 50% coming from organic. Now, that could skew. It depends on the product. If you have a really well-recognized brand, then you can get 20 to 30% of your total sales coming from advertising and then the rest of them being organic. But what we found is that unless there's like external traffic and branded search, then most likely you're ending up with about a 50% these days. And so that can allow you to say, okay, if you know that 50% of your ads or 50% of your sales, excuse me, are coming from advertising, then you know the cost of those ads, which is your A cost. And so you can actually balance out those two things. Fun fact, if you multiply your ad sale percentage times your A cost, that actually equals your total A cost for the account. So you can actually use these ratios, and actually we have an A cost forecasting model in here as well. Feel free to reach out to me if you want a copy of this, or maybe I could just share this in the chat. Maybe I'll do that. But if you, anyways, if you get this, if you do the ACOS forecasting model, that's based off of the average conversion rate of the product, the average order value, or basically product price, and your average CPC will reach out to your ACOS. So if you say, okay, in this scenario, if I had an average CPC of $1, I have an average conversion rate of 20%, then your ACOS is going to be like 26%. Okay, great. If I know 50% of my ads are coming from organic and I have a 26% ACOS, I'm ending up with a 13% total ACOS. And then total ACOS can be backtracked into profits. So that's kind of how I would do it. And then just recognize in the beginning, your total ACOS is going to be 26% if 100% of your ads are coming from organic. I always like to go pessimistic on your conversion rates. This is assuming you have no data. As soon as you have data, then plug your data into this model, and then it'll be super accurate. But in this case, if we had like a 10%, then we're looking at a 52% ACOS. And so you're just trying to understand like what are the scenarios. And then there's a target here. So, an example, if I had a 52% ACOS, I want to get down to 50, then my average CPC needs to be like 95 cents, which is a 5-cent difference, which is pretty reasonable. Now, if I type in here that I need like a 30% ACOS, well, now I need to drop my average CPC by 43 cents, which might not be sustainable given how competitive my market is. So maybe I need to work on conversion rates. So you can see you basically have to like understand like what are the pieces of the puzzle: conversion rate, cost per click, ad sale percentage, and then play around with what that forecasting model looks like. And then you can backtrack the results of the total ACOS forecasting into your profitability metrics. That's how we do it. Sometimes we notice that certain keywords are highly relevant to our product and have been included in our listing PPC campaigns. They're not getting indexed. What is the reason behind this? Yeah, it is difficult. Sometimes things just take time. Sometimes things take time. Sometimes what you can do is you can force, like if you really bid high on those keywords and you're able to get clicks and orders through those keywords, sometimes your ads can force indexing. The other thing that we notice is, so the way indexing works on Amazon, or at least relevancy works on Amazon, is it is specific to like browse tree nodes. So in the beginning, Amazon categorizes products into like each individual categories, and then what the algorithm does is it actually is like looking at consumer behavior. And I'd actually Product Opportunity Explorer is a really interesting way to understand how a specific keyword is, or like what Amazon believes specific keywords are related to specific categories. It's really fascinating because the way that Product Opportunity Explorer works when it comes to like related keywords are creating like what they call niches. Those niches are actually groupings of like clusters of consumer search behavior. And so that's a lot of the way that the browse tree nodes work. I've been on the rabbit hole on this to try and like dissect it. But the thing is that it changes kind of frequently because consumer behavior can shift over time, and meaning like what keywords are using to search. All that to say, sometimes a specific search that is technically relevant to the product, meaning like we know that our product can fulfill this, the algorithm may have associated that specific term to a different category. That's why oftentimes you'll see if you switch categories, all of a sudden keywords that used to work before are no longer working. It's because Amazon recognizes the sort of relevancy or like relation of different keywords to different subcategories, i.e. like browse tree nodes. And so I would say either one, give it time, two, see if you can force the issue in advertising. Oftentimes it's a time thing though, because you'll see like more products that have been around for a while, been selling for a while, can often be indexed for more things. So oftentimes it's just time. I don't know how new the product is though. I created a SP manual campaign for my product with keywords targeting. Initially, I didn't set the placements, but after 2 weeks, my search went to PUDP only and not top of search. Is there a second part to the question? I'm not seeing a second part to this question. So I'm going to kind of try and answer based on what I think the question is. Most likely it's that one, the algorithm has determined that you do better on product pages. There are certain products that just do better on product pages. Two, you might have your bid set too low because oftentimes product pages, not always, but oftentimes product pages have lower costs associated with them. So what you'll find is a lot of times on your lower bid campaigns, you will see much higher like product page placements associated with it. So I'm assuming you're asking how to get off of it. Now, the other thing I would say, it's how to searches. The other thing I would say is if product pages are performing well, I don't care. I know that it may seem somewhat controversial. There's a lot of talk in the space that like top of search is the end all be all. If you're getting good enough velocity, meaning like you're getting a lot of orders, ACoS is fine, you can still push it on product pages, you can still rank using product page placements. You can still rank getting rest of search placements. There's nothing wrong with those placements. Now, obviously there's an issue if it's underperforming, that's a different conversation, but I wouldn't be mad if it's only product page placements, providing that it's working. That's what I'd say. What happens if you advertise 2 different color variations? Just the ranking impact gets diluted. Not necessarily. It depends. So if one of the variations is not performing as well, meaning it has like a lower conversion rate, and that one variation getting clicks is hurting your order velocity, then it's possible. I wouldn't be too worried about it. I would just say if you don't have data to determine which one works best, which by the way, in the A to Z launch strategy, the one that I shared, which you can get access to if you go to our website, I would recommend looking at that one because if you go to resources, product launch strategy, that document I shared actually has some insights on variations. And if you want, let's see if I can find it. This video right here as well, how to increase sales and the best variation ad strategy. I go super in depth on how you should approach advertising when it comes to variations because there is a very specific strategy for that. If you have any follow-up questions on that strategy, more than happy to answer, but I would recommend checking out that video because I get pretty in the weeds on that. And most likely that would be helpful. But long story short is I would go off the data. If one is like getting a crap ton of clicks and it's not generating sales, then like pause it and only use the other variation. But if they're both working, It should be fine. Is it true in some PPC scenarios could not be the reason why the conversion rates are low? Maybe it's an offer, price, bullet points, etc. Yes, that is true. But I have seen so many listings that have good images. They're pretty good in sales and reviews. Yes. So I'm sorry, I'm throwing out YouTube videos to you guys today, but it like I got a lot of information. So there's this video here that I talk about two free game changing tools to analyze your conversion rates. Oh, has anyone seen the new business reports data? Oh my gosh, it is flippin' amazing. I am loving the insights that Amazon is rolling out in their business reports. Holy crap. Okay, so maybe I'll just make an update to this video because now there's info on business reports. Okay. What you want to do to understand conversion rate, there is a couple things. So one, when it comes to the advertising conversion rate, look at your unit session percentage versus your ad conversion rate. If your ad conversion rate is below your unit session percentage, there's something off with your targeting, meaning you are targeting keywords that are not converting well for the products. So I would say on minimum, you want to have your advertising conversion rate be at or higher your unit session percentage. In a lot of our accounts, especially our clothing accounts, like clothing, the conversion rates tend to be really low. And we're running like double the unit session percentage in terms of our ad conversion rate. Like our unit session percentage on some of the products was like 2, and then our ad conversion rate is like 4, or maybe the unit session percentage on the product is like a 4 and we're running it at like an 8% conversion rate on the ads. So if you have your targeting dialed freaking in, you should have, so I would check that. That's going to give you a clue that like, oh, maybe it's something that's off with my targeting. Now, the other thing that you want to look at when it comes to conversion rate, it's all relative. Because like I just said, a 2% conversion rate, sometimes like a 1.5% conversion rate in clothing is pretty normal. And I've just said, you know, a 1.5 to 2% conversion rate is normal. And some of you guys in the supplement category are like gasping because conversion rates in your category are 15 to 20%. And it highly varies. High price products, if you're talking like really high price premium in a category where things are just high priced in general, you might be looking at a 1.5 to 2% conversion rate, even with a well built out listing. So it's all relative. So to understand that in your category for your specific products, again, go watch this video, because what you want to understand is, so on this video, you're going to figure out like, how does my conversion rate compare to the category averages? And so if you're below category averages on your conversion rate, then yeah, you need to fix your conversion rates. But if you're like above, are there optimizations to be done? Yes, but you want to know like, what is your benchmark? So the new update, if you have not explored it, go do it today. It's chef's kiss, fantastic. If you go, it's for Seller Central because you need business reports and Vendor Central doesn't have it. Seller Central is getting all the new toys. It's obnoxious. But go into your business reports, go to detailed sales. What is it? By child ASIN. And now you'll see on the header column, there's like a new, and on the child ASIN, if you click on the child ASIN, that blue link, it will now pop open a dashboard. And on this dashboard, this is the thing that I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, because historically it has been a pain in the freaking butt to understand how your conversion rates compare to the category. So they gave us things like brand analytics, which is in that video. They gave us things like search query performance, which is in that video. Those are fantastic. Brand analytics inside the ad console will give you the category and how your brand in general. So if you have a lot of products, it's going to be diluted by whatever products you have underneath that subcategory. And then in search query performance, they're giving it to you on a search page level, which again is fantastic if you're going after a specific keyword, but you might just want to know, like, in general, for this one specific product, how am I comparing? So that's what that dashboard actually shows you is you pop it open and you see a graph so you can see over time how that one specific ASIN has performed, which again, chef kiss amazing. But the other thing that it does is it actually gives you benchmarks on a freaking graph for other products that are similar to yours and also at a similar price point. So if you want to see how your conversion rate has done over time, and you can look at the 10th percentile, so meaning like the top ASINs, you can look at the 20 percentile and I think the 50 percentile. So basically, like, how do I compare to the top in my category? And you can compare your conversion rate, you can compare your traffic, you can compare your orders, like all of the metrics that are available inside of business reports, which is quite a few. You can graph all of those and compare them to others in your market. Like, it's fantastic. Go check it out. So if you're trying to figure out, like, should I be above, should I be behind, like, where am I, like, I can kid you not, I'm going to be looking at that and screenshotting it so often. How about the new placements for audience and sponsored products? Is your company using it and what are the results? Yes, we are using it and we freaking love them. So we are actually part of the Amazon advertising partner network. And so we were able to get access to AMC, which is Amazon Marketing Cloud. And then we can actually we can build our own custom audiences for our brand. So that opens up like a whole freaking new world. However, if you don't have access to a seat on Amazon Marketing Cloud, which if you have enough ad spend and you have a rep, you can ask them, be like, hey, we want to get access to AMC. I don't know what the spend threshold is. It might be kind of high, but sometimes you can get access to it even if you're not part of the partner network. That's the way they rolled it out. So we do have access to that. So we oftentimes will build our own custom audiences, but Amazon also opened up the ability to use our pre-built audiences, and those are still fantastic. So I'd highly recommend. I'm so sorry. I'm going to share another video with you. But both Michael from Ad Badger, and another friend of mine, we did this, it was a little while ago. But if you go to our YouTube channel, which you're watching on YouTube, How to Master AMC Sponsored Audiences, this was a really good talk through on how you can leverage AMC audiences and kind of like what's working and the different ad types to attach them to. So, oh, look at that. Hey, Amazon, I noticed Amazon has added a new bidding adjustment, like Amazon Business. Yes, so I just went through it. I would highly recommend checking out this video, retargeting cart abandoners. And actually, if you go to our YouTube channel, I think if you search AMC, should be able to pull up other ones. Yeah. So I also did another video with Neha from Adam 11. She's amazing. This is a little bit more like going over like what it is. And then with Michael, we went over specifically. And then also, yeah, so retargeting cart abandoners, highly recommend. Now that there's the pre-built audiences, I would do that. And then your second part of your question is incorporating these placements into existing campaigns, or should we create separate campaigns for these specific audiences? The way we've been doing it, and I recommend, is creating a separate campaign specifically for these audiences. That way you can kind of track it a little bit closer, and they do work like a placement percentage. So that's the way in which we're testing them. What is your approach to balancing high converting keywords with minimizing ad spend, wastage in a saturated niche? Budgets. Budget management on campaigns. This is controversial. I am sorry, but I will stand on my soapbox until the day that I die or the day I am proven wrong and say budget management is the freaking key to total A cost control and limiting limiting the effects of testing on impacting your profitability in an account. We, for the last, honestly longer than that, but really the last 2 years, we have been using campaign budgets, limiting campaign budgets. Your campaign budgets will run out. I will say this. Now, there are some voices in the space who are dear friends of mine. I respect them, but I vehemently disagree that a campaign that is running out of budget is like a bad thing. Now, it's a bad thing if it's not intentional. Like if you're just like if you're not paying attention to it, or you're like, oh wow, this is performing really well, yeah, increase that budget. But if you are not using campaign budget as a spend control lever, you are missing out on one of the greatest optimization tactics when it comes to controlling total ACoS. Bar none. I will defend that to the death. Again, up until I'm proven wrong, up until our strategy shifts, because my team is testing things all of the time. And I have been proven wrong on things. Like I was vehemently opposed to dynamic up and down bidding, and we are testing it in certain scenarios and it is working. So there are times where strategy shifts and I am proven wrong. That being said, I like, how do you approach that? Because sometimes you need to get aggressive with your bids to be able to get any impressions. So in the cases, supplements is a huge one. It's a massive one, right? If I have a $5 to $8 bid on something, and that is what is required for me to get any impressions whatsoever. And the minute that I drop it down, even a higher bid of like $3, sometimes you get 0 impressions, right? I need to have some way to control that spend, and it's not going to be at the bid level because I need to be aggressive with my bid. But I can control how much spend I'm willing to allocate to something that is that aggressive by putting a budget cap on it. So that's how we're doing. We're leveraging budgets, and we have some really cool internal tools that we're building to allow us to take that even further. Hi, please explain the exact position of product targeting, where it appears on product pages, where all the places appear to top of search, rest of search, product page. Yeah, so product pages are simply like, the carousels on product pages is like whatever sponsored product ads placements are available on product pages, that's where they show up. What is your approach to balancing high converting keywords with okay, we already did that. Yeah, budget control, that's 100% where that is at, and that's how you do it. How do you mitigate AZ claim risk when running aggressive PPC without hurting account health? Mitigate AZ claim risks. Well, I mean, the one thing that we actually really keep on top of, especially like, so again, I keep going back to clothing, but there's so many nuances and like things in clothing that's like absolutely like kind of a pain in the butt to manage when it comes to products, is we actually look at return rates of we look at all product return rates. That's one of the things that we're constantly analyzing, because there is very often a scenario, I can't tell you how many times, it's like when we're looking at ACoS and we're looking at total ACoS, it's like, oh my gosh, this is working really, really well. And there are some products where I think the last one we were analyzing as well, like ACoS is 15% and our total ACoS on this product is 5%. Like all and sales velocity is good and conversion rate is good. Like all signs point push it. And then we'll look at the return rates of the products. And sometimes the return rate was like, I think in one clothing brand, it was like 15% or 20%. I've seen some crazy spikes happen where it's like 30%, right? Insane. So in that case, we could be pushing it because all signs point go in terms of what the ad performance is, what the order performance is, ACoS, total ACoS, all things point go. And then you look at the return rates and you're like, oh, shoot. Maybe not. Maybe I don't want to accelerate something that has a high return rate. So that's how we would like anything that could impact it like that. I don't know if that fully answers your question, to be honest, but in my experience, it's kind of the one thing that we look at. Hey Liz, do you have any ideas how to manage growth, brand impression, share, sponsored brand campaigns? You can't seem to figure out me as manage one. you have any idea how to manage growth, brand impression share on sponsored brand campaigns? Can't seem to figure out a way to manage this one. High ROAS in a campaign level, but very bad ROAS when we go down to the search term report. Yeah, so I think I'm understanding your question. Is that like the campaign ROAS is good and then the search term ROAS is bad? But what I would want to know is where are those search terms that are driving down the performance and what is doing really well in the performance. And then you want to manage to that. And for that, you're going to look in the campaign. So I'd go into the campaign. I would look at the targeting inside the campaign. So which target has a good ROAS, which target has a bad ROAS. And then in my experience, I would be much more concerned about where do I get good performance than like growing because growing impressions is simply like you increase your bids, you increase your budgets, maybe you leverage. You can do placements and sponsored brand ads, but in our experience, we don't typically use those. And so in those cases, like I just want to make sure that I'm getting good performance from my sponsored brand ads. And that's a matter of saying which targets are getting good ROAS and then optimizing the bids for those, and then most likely adding negatives if things are triggering that aren't performing well. We're leading in click-through rate, but impressions, but our conversion rate is below market. Listings are optimized, reviews are strong, and despite higher pricing, clicks are coming in. What could be the cause of low? Many suggest lowering pricing, but the pricing is the issue. Wouldn't have strong clicks. What are the other tests? Now, I would still lower pricing because it doesn't matter if they clicked on it. If they're not purchasing it, it doesn't matter what the clicks are. So I would say if you can, and now I get that lowering pricing impacts the overall profitability of the product. So I understand, like we have some brands are like, hey, we know we're higher price. We know that affects conversion rates due to our fee, due to our cost of selling on the platform. We just can't play the pricing game. And that's fair. Okay. So you might have a scenario where like it doesn't make sense. You can't lower pricing. Understood. Right. But if you can use pricing as a lever, if you are in a place to test it, I wouldn't say, oh, I'm not going to test it because I don't think it's a good test or makes sense. Like I would test it. Again, if you can't test it, understood. But if you're in a position to do it, I would say like I would 100% test pricing. And if you want, again, sorry with the YouTube videos. But if you go to our YouTube account and you search pricing, you'll see this video. So this is my good friend, Jason. He's one of the founders and builders and architects of a really fantastic repricing software called AZ Seller Kit, which by the way, Chef Kits are amazing. A lot of our brands are using them. But if you would, like he basically gives away, like he wrote their algorithm, he built their algorithm. And so if you want an idea of like how to test pricing, because you don't want to just like drop it down, ping it back up, you need to be more intentional with the way that you're testing pricing. And then so I would recommend going in and I would watch that, because if you want to know how to test the pricing, that will give you some really good tips. And then when it comes to like understanding, I know you're saying that like your listings are optimized. Sometimes it's a little bit surprising what the market wants. And oftentimes, like, even though I see a ton of listings, which again, I would totally follow John Aspinall on LinkedIn if you're not already. He's like the click-through rate king, and he talks about, like doing anyways, he's amazing when it comes to listings. That being said, you can use tools like IntelliV, PickFu is a really good one. Product Pinion is another one that I know a lot of people are using. And those tools allow you to run polls, and you want to run polls based on like other brands in your market. And especially like if you can identify like, which brands are really winning, when it comes to ranking, I would snag those brands and then I would put them into a poll, like a Pick Food poll, again, Tel Aviv product opinion, whatever you want to do, and just ask them like, hey, which product would you click on? So you look at the main image, you look at the image stack. A lot of them allow you to link to the listing. So say like, hey, which one of these would you pick and why? And then just get that market feedback, because oftentimes, like, you may be surprised at what the market will tell you, but you won't know until you ask. So again, I would run that poll, see, are my listings really on point? They very well could be. It could just be a price thing. But the thing that I have found is that if you want to sell at a higher price point, you have to have a listing that is like better than your competition. It can't just be the same as your competition. It can't be as good as your competition. The market is willing to pay higher prices for certain products. There's other products that nobody cares about the premium version. But if you can prove why you are worth more. So you have to make sure that the listing, and I'm kind of like speaking to the choir here. Most likely you know all of this, but for those of you listening, like if you want to sell at a higher price point, you have to have a listing that demonstrates to a shopper why you have a higher price point. Because if they feel that the two products are the same, it's going to be a pricing game. So to get out of the pricing game, you have to demonstrate value. And unfortunately, the only way to demonstrate value on Amazon is reviews. I mean, so you're saying you have 6,000 reviews. Fantastic. So you're demonstrating value through reviews, but you also got to make sure that that's translated into the listing. So I would recommend. All right. It looks like. All right. And with that, we are at time. You guys are amazing. This has been fantastic. Another great week. I really, really always enjoy talking to you all. If any of you have listened in and I mentioned a resource, a tool, and it would be helpful and you're not quite sure how to find it, drop the little links in the comments, but feel free to reach out to me on any of the social platforms to be like, hey, I watched your live. You had that tool. Like, where do I get a copy of it? Just let me know. And if any of you all would like us to audit your brand, you're struggling with ads, you're trying to figure something out, feel free to reach out to us on our website, junglr.com. More than happy to do an ads audit. You can book a call with me. We'll talk goals and then we'll go through the audit together. That is for brands who are more interested to just see what we would do on the product. So it's more for brands, not really agencies. But more than happy to have a chat with all of you and hopefully we can add value. And with that, I am looking forward to next week. So I will see you all here, same time, same place next week, where you can ask more of your Amazon ad questions. Thanks, everyone. And that wraps up this episode of the Ask Junglr Amazon Advertising Podcast. I hope you found these insights and strategies helpful in your Amazon PPC journey. Remember, if you have a burning Amazon ad question that you'd like answers to, head over to junglr.com/live to join our next live Q&A session. Until next time, keep optimizing those ads and stay hungry.